Hey everyone, this is Cindy at an open door. Today is, well, we're recording this. I don't know what day it is while you're listening to it, but according to the calendar, I am speaking at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on February 13th, 2025. And this is an hour that we've entitled Finding Truth Everywhere. And the purpose or our intention in this hour is to listen to teachers from all over, a whole bunch of different traditions, science, spirituality, even religion. It's funny that I said it that way. And I'm just remembering this gentleman, our Supreme Master, when asked about religion, just said, I'm not going to answer that. This is not, has nothing to do with religion. I found that very funny. Um, but we listen to different teachers and we look, I'm going to take a step. I wrote some notes. I could easily talk for hours and hours and hours again on what he said, but I made just a couple of basic notes that I want to get through, and then I'm opening it up because there's just a lot of rich content. But this is what I wanted to say even before I played the song. This is how this hour, which we've really been doing for a number of years under a couple different names or two names, this is what has happened here, right? Um, and now there's tears. So I know this is very meaningful here. Um, Human beings love to separate. They love to say this is the process or the practice or the religion or the community that works. And so this works, which means somehow yours doesn't. We've listened to a lot of different voices over the years. And I somehow have I've gotten so much better. I used to be so much more judgmental. I'm still seeing judgment here, but I've set the intention in stepping into each of this conversation not to judge whether or not I like the speaker, not to judge whether or not I would want to spend time in their community. Those things happen. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours now with Joel Goldsmith because of this. That lit me up. My intention is to be very still while listening and find what's the same. And when the same thing shows up in all these different traditions, different wording, different outer skin, but when the same thing shows up in these different traditions, like there's only one thing going on here, right? Then there's something really gorgeous about that. And I just want to say that's my intention in listening to all these different teachers. And I have noticed in setting that intention, when this mind wants to open up a clap and say, I don't like them because, and then everything else they say seems to go away. And so that doesn't happen as much for me anymore. This teacher was like, it was wonderful to listen to him. He was a great teacher. And I knew there was some dualistic kind of things about him. And there are laws in his world that are not in mine. So I listened to him. I said, I probably won't spend time with him. And he's not my teacher. And yet he said some amazingly beautiful things that could have been extracted like word for word out of A Course in Miracles, which is why Richard showed up in my space so often. So I just wanted to say that. I wanted to say thank you because it also we had a board meeting yesterday um, for an open door, and I felt kind of in awe. Like I've never been in a community before where you get a dozen or 15 people or whatever. There's actually more. We have people that can't make this meeting that are still watching the recordings every week, right? So there's probably 20 people that are preparing for this meeting every single week that are taking an hour and a half. listening to these different teachers, letting them inform you, that's extraordinary. And then we come and talk about things, and something here is changing as a result. And the other thing that I really want to say out loud, quite a few of you know this, but not everyone. Many of these audios are not being chosen through Cindy. Some of them are, but like this one came directly from Livy. A lot of them have come from Kendall. Others have come from Carrie. Others, Richard will mention a teacher and right away we'll go looking for an audio. So we're all equals here. And if there's someone that's lighting you up and there's an audio that you want to discuss, even if you don't show up every week and you're just listening to the recording, I just want to make sure everybody recognizes that what we're doing at an open door is what is something that we're creating together. And that's very, very, very close to my heart. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. And now the song, especially feeling very comfortable because Barbie's here, so she'll help me remember. And I have not yet put this, I'll put some version of this song in our playlist. I don't know if I can put this one because it has young people in it. There was a part where he was just talking about it is time to heal the fear-based system. I don't remember his words, and be and marinate and trust that God is love, right? God is love. And so this, while I was listening to that part of this audio, this song started playing in my head. And then I found the version I felt to play for all of us. And the name of the song, What the World Needs Now. So putting us on pause. Just make sure it stopped. Gonna be an interesting hour because I'm crying again. One of the things our Sufi master friend said was that the internet is an example of oneness coming into form. And as I was listening and watching just now that recording, something that only took place as human beings decided not to be separate during COVID, something inside of me exploded. I just, I thought that was neat, you know. So a few things I wanted to say, and then I'm opening it up. And then if no one talks, I have a whole bunch of other things that I could say. Um, we've been talking about this a lot, so I'm just going to say it. He clearly said everything in this world is God. And our duty, this is the way he put it, but we've been talking about service. I like it. I'm dedicating my life to service. And he said, whether or not you say it's service to God or service to the world or service to you or service to the one or service to consciousness or service to love, it doesn't matter because it's all God, or it's all the Tao, or it's all the Supreme Brahman, or it's all consciousness. It doesn't matter. But there's something just in that statement and all the different ways we've talked about it, just has something in here lighting up every time there's something in here that I want that seems to separate me from what I see. And it's subtle, and then it's not so subtle, but just this recognition that the purpose of my life is to be in service to whatever it is that is here that seems to be working to rise our consciousness and bring more love and light and videos like that into the world. And I kind of like the fact that a lot of the teachers we've been listening to they say some version of that, get over yourself is another way of putting it. So I wanted to say that. The second thing I wanted to say, and we could talk about this any which way you want, but it feels like a Course in Miracles. If Richard was here, I can quote Richard. Miracle principle number 7 states, Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. Right? He used the word suffering. I don't use the word suffering, right? But everyone, he also said, everyone who steps on the path knows that purification is necessary. And he equated purification and suffering as one. And that's one of the places where my understanding and his is different. But I recognize just the understanding that there is work in this level of consciousness that is being done, that is being hit. You know, I almost every day I'm seeing the world differently. And, sometimes it's uncomfortable. So, how many different ways can we say? How many different traditions point to this idea that, that there is purification required on this path? Number 3, science and religion are becoming one. I'm just going to put it out there. I think it's fun. A lot we intermix them, and we have a lot of our teachers that intermix them, and we have people like Donald Hoffman in our life that are bringing it all together. But he just said it, and so I kind of liked it. Um, and then I'm going to merge the rest of this and then open it up. The spark of the divine is in the heart. And I don't like my traditions, and maybe others know. So when we talk about chakras and where in the body things are, I don't have a lot of interest here right now. I used to, right now I don't. But it was still this idea that there is this flame. And Francis Lucille was talking about it last week, right? Once that spark is lit and there's this flame inside of you, you feed it until it consumes you. That's what I got from Francis. He used different words, but he said there's this spark of the divine that's inside of us. And he said it's in the heart. And then part of this and then what we do is we keep polishing around the heart. And the other part of this teaching, which in my notes aren't, maybe other people are going to say things that bring this closer together for me. It's all the purification and stuff. He clearly stated that the world that we're looking at is a reflection, right? There's something that reflects off this mirror in our heart, and we see the reflection out in the world out there. Is this not like course teachings and so many of these other teachings? And he literally just said, what do you fear the most? This is the darkness that's inside. And so what do you do about it? Yeah, project it outside where you can't fix it. And so, and this for me is also, it's a big Joel Goldsmith. Joel Goldsmith said it, and he's like, all you're looking at is a reflection of your current level of consciousness, is the way Joel Goldsmith says it. Paul Selick and the guides literally just say you're just looking at the out picturing of what's going on inside of you. He led me into this visualization of there's a mirror like sitting here in my heart, and what I'm looking at is just the reflection of what's here. And all of this purification work is to be with what's here, but to recognize it's the inner planes. He said, he literally said, our world is all already over, right? We're watching the last dance on the Titanic. And what happens next has not come into form yet. And it is our purpose, if you choose to, it is our whatever assignment, if you choose to accept it. Someone will tell me what I just quoted it, to keep cleaning inside, to be part of what comes into form next for the human collective. And the more love and higher vibration and the less separation we hold, we're contributing to the next evolution of humankind. I'm gonna, I got pages and pages, but that's my blankets. Mission Impossible. Thank you. Hey, Patricia. Good to have you here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Are you kidding? I wouldn't miss it. I loved this. I love the fact that he's 34 years old, has been trained. He talks about being a mystic. It's not something that it's something that you're born with. You do grow into. I would challenge that in some ways, but not today. I will take him at his word. He also said the world as we know is dying. We are going through an evolution. And what is happening, and I so appreciated this. I don't know about what other people thought, but that because of the death of this particular civilization, I think about it, these are the dark times. And then a
So,
renaissance is occurring. And in that renaissance, it is the awareness, the coming together. And that was also a theme in the Renaissance, if you recall. It was coming together. There was an aliveness, and I have to go back to my notes I wrote on the Renaissance in terms of themes that are shared. And I thought that that was really, it's things that we know that we hear from other teachers. The world as we know it is coming to an end. And we feel it. We feel it in what's happening in the world now. I feel it anyway. It's like, what is going on here? It's dying. There's a sense of dying in order to be reborn. It's almost like the phoenix is needing to rise again. And in that rising, it's that connection of one, of connecting, of love, of coming awake. And I saw the similarity in A Course in Miracles and his talk as well. He referred to things as taking a look at life as it's simple. We're the ones that make it complicated because simplicity is what is. That is God. And I like that very much.
so
And
Patricia, did you see the note? Just, I don't know if it makes any difference to you, but that interview was recorded about 30 years ago. The man is 72 years old today. Just
no, I
so,
didn't see that. Wow. I'll have to see some of his others. Thank you for saying that. But what he was saying 30 years ago, isn't it coming to be true?
or
Don't you?
we live in a cyclic, like how often in your, I think you said you've been around on this planet for 80 years, right?
Right.
So how often in those 80 years was the general human population in this feeling of this is the worst of times?
It's the worst of times.
This is not the first time that feeling has arisen.
No, it's not the first time, but boy, do I feel it this time. Okay, that's all I'm going to say right now. Thank you.
And yeah, there's also an apology here. It's such an interesting thing for me. We played Crosby, Stills, and Nash teach your children in one of these meetings this week. And afterwards, I'm sitting there going, they lied to me because there's no way this video, right? Except that I need to apologize. That video was made 8 years ago with Crosby, Stills, and Nash in response to everything that was going on with Black Lives Matters and Blue Lives Matters and the last time, Donald Trump was president, we were having the riots and the COVID stuff. So it was a legitimate um, video that was made um, with Graham Nash's approval, let's put it that way. So it was an interesting thing to watch my response as if it was released because of what is happening now. And, when, man, does my mind misperceive things often. So I just wanted to say that too. I didn't know he was 72, Kendall and Livy both. commented while you were sharing, Patricia, so I wanted to make sure you saw that. Mr. Hunter, it's so good to spend this moment with you.
It's so good to be here. I can't, I missed that coffee thing. I've got two 12-step programs back to back from 10 to noon on Wednesdays. So I never get there. But really appreciate it. I just want to get in and out there. I've got really, I made special time to listen to this because I was so affected by what I was hearing you guys talk about before I got there, and I was impressed with this guy. I didn't know about his age till he shared that now. That one of the things that jumped out at me, aside from what was that cycle, what blew me away when he said that, I've heard the age of Aquarius and all that stuff, and he took this back. I can't even remember the name. It was like 100,000-year cycle or something. He said that we're completing not just a shorter one. That one blew my mind. And so much of what he did. And the other kind of caught me a little bit surprised. I made a note that, and I'm going to listen to what everybody else says. But the other, he had the comment about, totally by surprise, that the idea of heaven was a waste of time. I'm still contemplating that one. I'm going to listen to what everybody else says.
Well, before I hand things over to Melanie, the way that affected me was just this, any thought that tells me that I am waiting for something to happen in the future is a waste of time. So the typical idea of heaven and hell, as it is related in most religions, talk about a place that is not here now. And from that perspective, you're projecting outside of the only place that you can affect change, which is here now in me. Yeah, what Kendall said, we make heaven or hell here right now. So anyway, that I don't want to take away from your contemplations, but that's how that teaching affected me.
May I
Hey,
ask?
Mel. Oh,
Sorry, excuse me, Mel.
did you want to say something, Patricia?
Yeah, go
It's
ahead.
okay.
Go ahead.
After Mel.
Oh, well, hi everybody. Yeah, there were really super gems in this, and I was confused about his age because he said he was born in 1953, which made him 72. But then he talked about when he was meditating. He started meditating when he was 16, and he had been meditating for 34 years. So that made he was four. So anyway, but he looked so young. I said, "Wow, that's amazing. Being a mystic, really, it's amazing." But yeah, I did definitely get some gems. Yeah, there were a couple things that maybe it's just level differentiation, but he talked about near-death experiences and the tunnel of light. And I remember maybe it was Keith Kavanaugh, both of and also Helen Hamilton, that's like comfort food for the ego, that consciousness never dies. Consciousness is always present, and also that it never incarnates. So there is no reincarnation. I mean, awareness just always is the background for everything that's happening. So evolution, and it's funny because I was just reading John Klein right after I saw that, and John Klein goes, that there is no evolution in consciousness. So all of that, projections about what's happening in the, but I know he was talking about the evolution of human, but that's not what we are ultimately, right? So I just get confused with, differentiating, understanding that who we really are isn't going through, is not part of all, is not, you know what I'm saying. I'm not very articulate. But,
Yeah, so I'm going to respond just real briefly because it is, no, well, it's a confusion in a good way. Like I've been enjoying feeling confused lately because I know that it gives birth. Um, a lot of the teachers I've been playing with lately talk about dropping into bodies to continue our evolution. Christian, who
Yes.
a lot of us here has loved, talked about
Yeah.
pre-birth, and the guides now, Paul Selick and the guides continually talk about the fact that we are here to learn. The way they teach it is that we're here to learn through. There's something that, whether it's conscious, whatever you want to call it, there's something that is evolving and being learned through, and we're learning through this current experience. And not all of us are going to get it in this lifetime. That's what the guides are saying. And if you don't, it doesn't matter, because you're going to just drop into another body and continue the experience. Now, I can say from a standpoint of Cindy, I don't know what it means. The other part of it is that in my during my diet practices just this week, there has been this, and I'm going to say this very carefully because I'm just going to tell you what's happening. I have no justification for it, no defense. I don't even want to defend it. But when you're in a diet, what happens is you're getting the question, you sit and you report the experience, right? I want to tell William that his partner looks gorgeous. The dress looks great. Um, what I've been receiving is something is looking out through these eyes, and it's not me. And then I get all squirrely. But there's just this general sense, this feeling that there is something that is looking out through these eyes. And I don't know what it is. It's not this personality that's sitting here thinking she knows who she is.
Or maybe
And
that's who you really are.
well, but that comes from that same mind who's looking and saying something's happening and I don't understand it. I don't, like, in the diet contemplation, we go out of our way not to use the intellect and just to report the experience. And so what I've been finding myself reporting is this really it's not even disturbing. It's just what's happening. There's something looking through these eyes, and it's not me. And then I watch the mind get really upset, wanting to figure it out. And I'm like, don't bother. Yeah, so I don't know. It's just wild.
Yeah. Well, you see how I get pulled by, we're drawn into this human experience and the evolution. That's the mind just getting caught up in all that drama and all that. And if you sit back and who we really are is present for all,
It is, and yet who we really are doesn't get upset when her daughter doesn't call and there's an upset happen.
Right.
There's no, it's just, I'm just what I don't literally, there's no way. I sit back and just say this is happening. So, I've been saying this a lot. It's showing up almost every day in my writing. You ready, William? Something's happening. This is it. And then silence, nothing. I, that those two lines, I know that there was a third line in the quote. The rest of the story, I don't even bother with that anymore. It's not what shows up. Something's happening. This is it.
The rest is all a story.
So, yeah. Yeah. So, Amy, what do you think? You next or Patricia next? It's up to you.
Oh, I'm happy to have Patricia go. She can go next.
Thank you. I just wanted to, we were talking about, Mel mentioned something about heaven. I think that I was appreciative of that, having grown up Catholic, that heaven is out there. And I also appreciated what he had to say about, you die, and if you've been a good person and you've done your spiritual work, you go to heaven. And then that's kind of boring. And then something else happens. And then something else happens. You may get reborn or who knows. I appreciated that particular perspective. in the world of who knows. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's yours, Amy.
My sense is that it's all happening all at once, right? It's the infinite expression of awareness. Infinite awareness expressing itself in infinite numbers of ways. And Bernardo Kastrup calls it nature. He says the infinite expression happens in patterns that are too big for our little teeny minds to grasp. But every once in a while, it's almost like this wormhole goes through and we see part of a pattern and we think, oh, that's it, you know? But it's all happening now all the time. And I've had that experience in meditation of knowing that I exist on another level as another person and knowing everything about that person. I've had that direct experience twice. And I was just watching a woman's near-death experience. Yeah, and she experienced herself as another being on another planet that was an insect form. So, but it's all happening all at once. And it doesn't mean that we aren't the infinite awareness. We are. And that's what I love about the non-dual path is it takes us from this infinite experience directly back home to the awareness that we are, even as we're having the infinite experience. And so Bernard Kastrup calls that the whole kind of matrix of the web that we can't really see. He calls it nature, for lack of a better word. I have a couple more things I just want to say. One is I think it's not so much purification for me because that implies that there's something impure and there isn't anything impure. It's more like a growing awareness or a recognition. It's like a deepening recognition of the true self. The other thing is that I think Sufis are to Islam as Joel Goldsmith is to Christianity. You see what I'm saying?
It's the mystical aspect. Sufism is the mystical aspect
Yeah.
of Islam,
And
right?
it's the more loving aspect. It's really the more non-dual aspect. Um,
You could
and the
say
other,
it's Kabbalah, right? It's the Kabbalah aspect of Judaism too, right?
you could say that. Yeah. Yep. Um, the other thing, what did I want to say? Sufis are to Islam. Oh, and then the last thing, I pulled a Cindy on this one and just noticed my reaction. When he said, what did he say? Some of you will remember better than I right now. He said, Muhammad said there are three things that he thought were beautiful. One was truth or something. One was a beautiful woman, and the other was a beautiful sunset.
Yes.
When he said that,
Perfume.
hmm?
The perfume. I think he said the perfume of a beautiful woman or something. The perfume of a beautiful woman. But I saw that. Yeah.
I watched myself kind of pull back when he said that. And I noticed that the words made me feel separated and objectified. Like, what is a beautiful woman? I mean, a beautiful sunset it's just a beautiful sunset that we all enjoy. And like, what if you're not a beautiful woman? Then what does Muhammad think about you then? Or what if you get older and, what does Muhammad think about you then? He didn't say a wise man or a peaceful man. It sort of made me feel like, there was a value statement there that I just noticed and it made me pull back and just, uh, it just showed me again how words can sometimes just really take on a life of their own. Um, and actually, even though I know he meant them in a beautiful way, they weren't really, they missed the mark for me. Oh, the last thing is, you mentioned Francis Lucille, and Francis said, let's see, he said, not all mystics are sages, but all sages are mystics.
Mhm.
So I thought that was something that I really noticed. Or that he said, I heard him say that a few weeks ago, and it really stuck with me. So just thought I would share Francis there. Love us.
It's interesting when you were talking about words and the effect of words. It feels like my response to the word suffering is similar to your response to the word purification. How we have different, because of our conditioning and the value we place on certain things, we have different responses to them. So I saw that. Thank you very much.
May I just want to make a response to Amy, if I may? Just one thought. Amy, he really also talked about that we are through with the patriarchal system, which I appreciated.
Oh, he did. Thank you, Patricia. And I noted that his teacher was Irina Tisdale or something like that. So I looked her up, and she's a really interesting person as well. So yeah, thank you, Patricia.
Sandra.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Amy. I loved what you said. I always do. And what always happens is I raise my hand, and then I'm so engrossed in everything you're saying, I can hardly remember what it was that I wanted to contribute. But what's occurring to me right in this moment is how Cindy opened with finding truth everywhere and her intention as she listens. I don't know if I have the same words, but define the connections. But it made me think about my intention is that I want to be open and teachable. But I recognize that I have structures and conditioning that blocks things. Like there have been studies about this of scientists in particular. They have a hypothesis and they try to prove the hypothesis. And in trying to prove that, oftentimes they ignore data that's contradictory to it. And not purposefully. It just doesn't, it's not in their awareness. It doesn't come in. And then I started thinking about how when I first started learning about the Course in Miracles or doing the Course in Miracles, well, that doesn't fit the Course in Miracles. Well, that doesn't fit the Course in Miracles. I was blocking things that held truth. And I started thinking of the word fundamentalism, like the Christian fundamentalism. There could be a non-dual fundamentalism, but that's not non-dual, So it's just helpful to me to kind of tune in to the words and also to the vibrational field. I hope that makes sense. But there's a tuning into the vibrational field, and then an emptiness. And I was reading the Tao for the first time, and I love that it said the way is like an empty vessel that can be used and reused. Perhaps it can never be filled, and that's why it's available. And now I really got that on a very visceral level. That
Say that again.
I was reading from this course that I'm taking with Cindy. It's the fourth. It's from the Tao Te Ching. Is that how you say that? Te Ching. The way is like an empty vessel that can be used and reused. See, I think he was speaking to that when he said he's empty, and then he just lets he has access to wisdom. Perhaps it can never be filled, which is why it's always available. When you think about a pitcher that's filled with water, it's not available for any more water. Our brains, our structures in our head and our minds can be so filled with these things, experiences, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just to be conscious of it and to empty so that I can be filled in the moment with what you're saying and you're saying and you're saying, and then with what the teacher is saying. So that isn't why I raised my hand. But I now it's coming back if I can take a few more minutes. I really liked the way, because, and I maybe saw a connection that he wasn't even intending, but the way he connected with, what did he call it? The inner plane is changing before the outer plane. And that humanity is evolving. And he connected that with fear to me. I forget what he said about fear. What did he say? And it reminded me of what we were talking about yesterday about fear. How, like, we fear for our children. Yeah, that. We fear for our children. And we fear because their outward lives are so different. The things that were important to us about, quote, a successful life aren't there for them. And I'm hanging around a lot of young people recently because my youngest daughter, who I had late in life, and her friends come here a lot, and I hear them talking, and I'm talking with them. They do not want the kind of life we thought would make you a successful person. They have this inner knowing that the rat race isn't for them. And that life can be better. Life is more than these external accomplishments and things we held dear about a certain level of education, a certain kind of job, a certain level of security. They're much less, I know I'm speaking in generalities, but it made, when he was talking about the inner plane and how it's changing, I thought, yeah, I see that in this youth. I see it in my own children, you know. I'm like, but you're not going to have a pension if you take that job, you know. To me, it was valuable to have a pension, you know. So my daughter's an artist, and she doesn't have that fear. She wants to live for today, and I want her to plan for the future while I'm reading all these books that are telling me to live in the now. So it's all okay, whatever's happening with them. And I don't have to fear that they, you know, my inner structures of the way life should, you know, how conditioned are being projected outward to the way they should be. I'm letting all of that go. Empty, empty, empty. Let it go. Let it go. And I did love the way he talked about prayer as communion. I feel that. And I loved what he said about the higher vibrational levels of the spiritual. The higher, you know, we've talked about that. And okay, one last thing. I walked out, I had to go to PT this morning. And I came out of PT and I'm walking across the parking lot, and I started walking faster because it was cold. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, how these legs are amazing. Look how fast these legs can walk. Isn't it cool that we have legs? So I'm coming to this point of, when we say that's not who we really are, we are. Consciousness is everything. Consciousness is, my legs are consciousness. This desk is consciousness. The whole idea of human evolution is consciousness. We are everything. There's nothing that is not consciousness. Even the personality, if I keep saying I'm not that personality, I can't say that anymore. Everything is consciousness. It's just being aware. So I just don't want to let the non-dual teachings make me separate from, or have me, for a while I was separating from this being, not this form, which this form is an expression of consciousness. I loved those legs. Those legs were really cool. And I was thinking, how often I'm not aware of this amazing form that consciousness is expressing as. I mean, how cool is it? And look at Libby's smile. I love her smiles. And the light coming out of her eyes. Did you hear him talk about that? How the light in someone's eyes, how they light up and glow when they're vibrating at a higher level. I see that.
I think it's workbook lesson 61.
It is.
You are the light of the world. I think it's 61.
We are all. And then what he said, this isn't just for us, we're doing this for the world. So yeah, we're all here for the world. We're not here just for our own little personal. That too, but not all, that's not it. Okay.
Yeah, so it was Dan, he said we have forgotten that everything is God. And Dan Siegel said, I, as a white American male, I am blind to my blind spots. And you, I don't remember exactly what words you used, but you said the same thing in the beginning of your share just now. Yeah, lesson 61, I am the light of the world.
I can say that without feeling like I'm being like an egotistical crazy person. I can say, I am the light of the world. You are too. We are the light of the world. Doesn't that just bring joy to your heart? And we're changing the world right here, right now, in this space.
That was a big part of his teaching.
Oh.
Well, just to do the work on the inside, to know the truth of who, if you know the truth, if you're willing to know with every cell of your being through all your blind spots that you are the light of the world and you're willing to stand still in that, then the outer plane will reflect that. Change the world.
Oh. And I can't say, I am consciousness, I am all that is, and not say, but I'm not this. I am this. I'm wearing this shirt. Okay, thank you. I love you.
Love you. So David, are you feeling, I know I'm gonna go into the past now and who knows, and memories are blah, 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 but I still want to say, David, are you feeling better today? Are the drugs working?
Well, the drugs are working, and I'm feeling really, really weird, and I'm going to talk about that. First of all, Sandra, if you would say I am not the light of the world, that's the height of egotisticalism, if that's a word, because who are you to say you're not? But anyway, I put something on that I wrote the other day, or I don't know when I wrote it, but anyway, I'm pumping all these weird chemicals into my body, and my brain is just weird, and I'm trying to figure. It's running crazy. I'm trying to figure out everything and write it down and figure out all the answer to what is, and the answer to everything, every question that is ever asked, and I can't do that. But I keep trying, and so I came to the conclusion, and then of course, as always, Sandra just said it just before I was going to talk. But who? It's like I am. Who am I? I am. We are. God is. Why ask anymore? There's nothing more to know, and all I need to do is love. And that's the best I can do, and I don't need to worry or try to figure out anything else to do. That's it. If I do that, I'm home. And so it took me, 7,000 words today and 2 or 3 pencils and scribbling on like crazy and what I posted on the chat is to show how screwed up my mind is today, trying to just going everywhere and, doing, thesis after thesis. And I'm just going crazy. So we are, God is, amen.
Do
I'm
you want to
done.
read what you wrote into the
Not
recording?
really.
Love the honesty.
Yeah, go ahead if you want. I don't care. I don't want to.
All right, let me read it real quick and then I'll hand things over to Libby just for the recording because people are going to be listening to this and they're going to want to know. All right, from David. I want to be here now, not there then, or who knows where, when, where the cost is feeling so lost. I wonder just how I ended up there. And the more I worry about this, the more I make the unreal real. I have given it all the meaning it has. But I can change my mind and return to the here and now, and here's how. Forget everything I thought I knew and come with empty hands and an empty mind back to the here now. Here is where God, which is everywhere, and the past and the future don't exist. It is always now, now with God. Come on home. I think it's stunning. Tickles my insides and opens my heart.
Yeah, it sounded a lot better when you said it.
Thank you, David.
Dave-
Hey, Livy.
Hey everybody, and David, can I just say I've never seen so much animation in your face. Your whole face is smiling. It's just really, really beautiful to see that.
It's the steroids. I'm starting to look like Arnold.
And I love that you ended that with "Come on home." Ram Dass.
Excuse me,
We're all
Livy.
just
Then
walking
come
each
on.
other
Then
home.
keep on using the steroids.
Yeah, I stole that from John Prine. I love "Come On Home." Have you ever heard that song he sang?
Yeah, I'm a huge John Prine fan. Yeah, I cried when he passed.
Me too. Me too.
But and it's like Ram Dass said, we're all just walking each other home. And I'm so grateful that, it's all the truth. Truth is truth. And it's delivered in different ways because we have John Prine and then we have Chopin and then we have, all the different Nine Inch Nails and, the Doobie Brothers. There's so many different ways and different expressions of love. And Patricia helped me so much in a meeting and Awakening Together to help me understand why I don't really resonate so much or enjoy listening to Rupert Spira too much. And it's because it's too intellectual for me. And so when I found Llewellyn, it was like, oh, I just felt like I was hearing the sound of love, and I don't get that as much with Rupert, and that's what I was missing. And so I love hearing everybody shares around this man and this teaching because I'm so grateful that there's so many voices speaking the same thing because all of us hear differently,
Yeah.
and all of us need to know the truth and just how it's spoken. And I love how he said a butterfly can't become a tree. We are all different expressions of the divine love, and we're all love, and it's all love. And that's why I love coming to these meetings to hear everybody share their experience of the love, that raises my vibration and raises all our vibrations. And, how fabulous is that? I always look forward to coming on to hear what Amy has to say and what Sandra has to, what everybody has to say, because I want to hear more of the love. And how do you hear it? So it'll help me tune into things that I haven't tuned into before, and how important that is for me. And, that's why I love an open door so much, because it provides a wonderful space for everybody to be, just to be and to share what being is like for them. And, you know, I love Ram Dass saying when he sees someone and he's looking at them in the eyes and it's like, I'm in here, are you in there? You know, and and I love that Llewellyn says we don't have a soul, we are soul, you know, and so I just love always coming and hearing everybody share their love and their experiences. And so thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Libby. Everybody's different, but everybody's the same. We're all the same. There's only one of us.
And Livy, I just want to say thanks for feeding Sandra's addiction, because she almost went a whole hour without hitting that heart button. And that is the hour. So I'm going to stop the recording. I love us very much. Reality check. It is at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning on Friday, and we'll have a whole nother week next week. And I am going to do my best to remember to start posting the podcast link in the Sunday email as well, just until we figure out if there's a way to get around these caching issues on the website. They can clear the cache, but you know, the internet's trying to help us out by pulling up the last page to that URL instead of looking for updates, and it's causing a little bit of havoc for some people. So I'll do my best to just post the podcast when I send out the email on Sunday. My best to make that a habit.
Thank you.
I love us all very much. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording.